Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Daily Energy. My name is Shelby Leboeuf, and I'm still subbing in for Doug Pinter of Anytime Fitness North Peoria. I got my go-to professional here in the office, Jeff Bach, attorney at law. Jeff, how you doing this morning?
Good, Shelby. How about yourself?
A little cold.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, probably should have wore a jacket, but everything's good, man. It's Friday morning and rocking and rolling here.
This time of year, it's tough though, right? It's cold in the morning and it's going to be 70 in the afternoon. Then what do you do with the jacket? I mean, around the shoulders, around the waist. I mean, it just gets in the way.
I hear it's supposed to be like 80 degrees next week.
Yeah. I think tomorrow even.
Gonna get a little heat flash then.
Yeah. Speaking of heat flashes, my wife's probably going to make me rake the yard, which is, like I'd rather have it be cold than I could stay inside watch football. I wouldn't have to rake, but you know how that goes. I mean,
Right.
Gotta do what you got to do. Happy wife, happy life.
Definitely. So a little bit about me. I used to be 300 pounds about 5 years ago, and I decided to take the step to get to a healthier life and just walk, run, jog, and eventually I became a member at Anytime Fitness down in Louisiana, and through that I was able to access the other clubs in Peoria. So now I'm actually a personal trainer over at the club in Peoria, and I've been doing it for about a year and a half now. I've got a ton of clients. Hopefully, some of them are listening in this morning. I love what I do every single day to come into the office, see Pat there, see Boop, see Morgan, and we're all just a big, huge team there, and it's really an awesome event. So, Jeff, what kind of attorney are you?
Shelby, that's a great question. We were talking a little bit about this before the show, and I realized that I've been on probably now 4 times, and we've talked about kind of a segment of, or like an aspect of what I do each time, but haven't really given the full picture. So really, what we call my kind of attorney is plaintiff's law. I don't represent companies. I don't do contracts. I primarily go to court, and so that means injury work. So I do personal injury and workers' comp, which I think we talked about both of those already. I do some criminal law, which I know we talked about. I was on right before or after St. Patrick's, and unfortunately, as you probably know, that's a popular time to,
Get a DUI?
Yes, that well put, Shelby. Thank you. I was trying to dance around it, but well put. And then I also do wills and powers of attorney. So if you have a young family and you're, somebody keeps telling you need to get a will done, I take care of that. I do some estate work, meaning that if someone passes and they need to have their property transferred, I can handle that. And then I think what we're going to talk about today is actually the family law aspect. And most people think of that as divorce, but there's all kinds of, there's divorce, and then there's post-divorce, and then there's people who were never married in the first place that need to deal with a child or need to deal with a breakup as far as property goes. So all those things are family law, but that is primarily those areas that I just discussed with you. That's what I do.
Okay. Now, how long have you been doing that?
Great. Another great question, Shelby. We need to get you in here instead of Doug, and I'm going to remind him of that and tell him that, and I'm sure everybody listening is nodding their head right now thinking, yes, I agree. We're probably putting the ladder up in the air for the encore. But I have been doing this now 9 years. 9 years.
Almost a decade.
Yeah, no joke, man.
That's awesome.
I know it doesn't feel that long, but yeah, here we are.
There you go. So, how about those Cubbies?
Yeah, no, I know. They look pretty good, right?
Man, the other night I was not gonna lie, I was kind of going for the Indians because Zach McAllister, he actually went to IVC high school in Chile, and that's where I graduated from. So I remember I was probably in like 7th grade. I was watching him pitch. He was an all-star. I mean, so I was going for them, and they were kind of hitting the bats a little bit, and then they couldn't even score. So I don't know what the deal was there, but he had 2/3 inning pitched, 1 hit, 2 runs allowed, a walk, and 2 strikeouts in his outing the other night. So it's pretty good.
Well, and they got the Cubbies have Zobrist, so we got 2 local guys, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
from Eureka, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is whoever you want to root for, you can find a local guy in your team, and you can say, hey, that's why I'm rooting for him, right?
Oh yeah. And then Jake Arrieta. He's playing really good. Cy Young-ish. Doug wrote down here. I don't really know about that, but Bach, sorry, Jeff. How about divorces? You like divorces, right?
Well, I mean, Shelby, that's an interesting way to put it. I don't think, unfortunately, with most of the stuff I do, I don't really like when most of the things happen. Everything we just talked about, right? Either somebody commits a crime, somebody needs a divorce, somebody gets injured, somebody passes on. Like, none of those are good things. But, so I don't I mean, I really don't look forward to ever having people come in my office and tell me that those things happen. But the facts are that they do happen. So what I like to do, especially with the divorce, I mean, there's so much uncertainty at the beginning. There's so much. You're used to making your life a certain way, living with somebody, married to somebody. You might have kids. If you don't have kids, you probably have property, and you wonder, how is this going to look when it's all said and done, right? So at the beginning, there's a lot of questions. A lot of, what do I do with this? How do I do that? What do we do? And depending on whether the people can kind of remain amicable during the thing, we have a lot of different options. If you can remain amicable during the thing, we probably just need to work on the end result. A lot of times, though, there's hurt feelings, and a lot of times, for whatever reason, it's just not possible to, kind of keep getting along. And then we have to do, go for like a temporary relief situation where we're trying to figure out what the rights and responsibilities of the parties are while the divorce is going on. Again, you'd always prefer it to be where people can be adults and get along,
Mm-hmm.
and for the most part, not really fight about too much, except maybe through the attorneys or in court. So if that's the case, again, for the most part, you just work through toward the end result.
Gotcha. Now, where would someone start with a divorce? Like, let's say, you start fighting and then, you think you guys are actually not fighting, but you are conversing and, you hit you up, Jeff Bach here. And where do you start with that after you phone call you?
Okay, that's a great question. So you come in the office and you say, I've talked to my husband or wife. I think we're heading towards a divorce. Or a lot of times people will come in and, whether they've explicitly told the other party or not, they kind of know where they're going, and so we sit down. What we try to do with every case is just get a picture of what's going on, right? So we talk to you about, who you are, who your spouse is, what your respective incomes are there children, what property was obtained during the marriage. I mean, that's the really big deal, because there's two aspects to every divorce, or I should say, if there's children involved, there's two aspects. There's financial,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the children aspect, right? So the financial aspect is anything that was purchased during the marriage, any income that may have been earned during the marriage, and that really comes more into play with, what we used to call alimony, but now we call maintenance. And then if there's children involved, then we try to figure out, what's the plan going to be? Who are they going to live with? What school are they going to go to? How often are they going to see the person they don't live with? Can you guys get along well enough that you can agree on transportation, or do we have to put everything in there? These plans can be as detailed or kind of as flexible as you want them to be. And what I always hope for, Shelby, I don't know what your family situation was, but I'm the product of divorced parents, and so my parents got along when I was growing up. And I always hope that the people who are leaving my office are going to get along, because I know it's what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes some people need more structure. Some people need you are going to drop them off at 6:00, and then the other person's going to pick them up at 6:00 the next day. And some people need more of a, on Tuesday night after work. Well, some people get out of work at 4, some people get out of work at 6, right?
Yeah.
So it just, but I guess what this all started with is how do I get started? And of
Mm-hmm.
course, the way you would get started is to call my office and to ask for my assistant, Jessie, who is going to answer the phone, and then she will set you up with an appointment with me, and we'll meet. And again, we'll go through everything, get a good picture of what's going on. And then again, as I said earlier, everybody has a lot of questions at the beginning, so I just try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So maybe you could guess, though, it's kind of hard at the beginning to really, know the answer to all the questions, because everyone is kind of, everybody comes in and says,
They're on
well,
the fence. They're kind of like, I don't really know.
well, right. And nobody, they can come in and say, well, I don't think this will happen. But, for the most part, if you've talked to the other person and they agree on what's going to happen, that's what we can do that's called an uncontested divorce, meaning that, the two people sit down together, say, this is what we're going to do. And then I just draw up the paperwork.
Okay.
So that, on it, if for anybody's listening who has anybody who has a situation like this or knows anybody like that, that is always the best way to do it, because you're going to save yourself a ton of time and money.
Yeah. You just basically write it up, more legal matter, so that way, they can't cross over boundaries.
Exactly. And we make sure that they're officially divorced in the eyes of the court, because let's say hypothetically you don't have kids, and let's say you were only married a year and you didn't buy anything big. Well, you might think, okay, we can just go on about our lives. Well, that probably would work until, you meet somebody else that you want to get serious with, and then you have to tell that person, well, it turns out I'm not divorced because it was a lot of money to get divorced, and it was just easier to kind of go our separate ways. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe the dating world has changed since I've been in it, but most people that I know in the dating world wouldn't be too excited to hear that about a prospective partner.
Exactly. Now, isn't there like some sort of, this is probably off your topic, but like a tax break for people who are married versus people who are single?
That's an interesting question. It's not one of my areas of expertise, but it's kind of like this. If you have, so it's not a tax break, but it's different tax brackets. Okay. So if you have two high-earning people, there's actually a penalty for getting married. Now, the way you get the break though is let's say you work all the time. You're high. You are the breadwinner. Your spouse stays at home with the children or stays at home to, pursue other options, right?
Right.
Now, at that point, you're going to get a much better, you're going to be in a better tax bracket because there's only one person earning income, but there's, the tax brackets are higher for married people. But if you look into it, it's actually, if you have two high earning people, there's actually a penalty for getting married. But most people don't get married for tax purposes.
Exactly.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
Well, you hope.
That's the goal.
Right.
How about have you ever heard about Scottie Pippen? He got a divorce.
I think what happened is he's going through a divorce right now. According to the Twitter blog or the Twitter that I read, the rumor is that his
Twitter, he says.
The Twitter, yep, where they do the tweeting and the people write the tweets, and I read the tweets.
The memes.
Oh, I love the memes. They're so funny. The Scottie Pippen meme though is kind of sad. Apparently, his wife, decided to have relations with other men while they were still married, and apparently Scottie Pippen didn't take too kindly to that.
He probably wasn't. I don't know. I mean, a guy like that, you got to think he has connections all over. He can just, pick and choose. Kind of. Oh, that person looks nice. I'm gonna go take them out to a nice dinner.
You would think. I mean, especially if you just walked up, being 6'7", being
exactly
with all that jewelry, with 6 rings on your fingers. I mean, just walking up and saying, "Would you like to have a nice dinner with me?" I mean, you would think that would be like a,
it's a no-brainer.
I would think
No-brainer.
I mean,
how are the Bulls looking this year? Have you caught the game yet this year?
I think their first one was last night. I'm a big SportsCenter watcher in the morning, and it looked they beat the Celtics, and the Celtics are supposed to be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. Now, from what it appeared to be, the Bulls were shooting well from the outside, but that does not appear to be one of the team's strength this year. So I question whether that's going to be a winning formula going forward. But when you beat one of the better teams in your own conference, earlier in the year, that's always a good thing, right? And Dwayne Wade looked really good. He's the $20 or $25 million man coming home back to Chicago, got a really nice welcome. I mean, all that good stuff.
Pau Gasol, down low.
He's down with the Spurs now. But
is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he looked good
I
too.
really haven't paid attention to basketball.
But Doug gave us some notes, and Doug wrote big loss for Golden State opener with the Spurs, 129-100. So Pau Gasol had an okay game there, but I think it's going to take him a little time to get integrated in the offense. I think it's going to, for the Spurs, I think it's going to be a Kawhi Leonard year. I mean, I think he's kind of their version of the Scottie Pippen.
He's the franchise player.
Exactly, big, long, athletic freak that plays really good defense and kind of offensive game is running rounded into form. I assume Doug brought that up because the Warriors signed Kevin Durant to an already pretty good team.
Yeah.
So I think everyone just assumed it was going to be
the dream team.
Yep.
Really good team this year.
Yep. But apparently there's some trouble in paradise. So but as you know, it's a long season in the NBA. So we'll check back
82 games, right?
Yep. We'll check back in May, and if the Spurs are still drubbing the Warriors, then we might have then there's going to be a lot to talk about at that point.
Definitely. Now, how about college football? Do you watch college football at all? Or
I do. Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah, I'm a big Michigan fan. I went to Michigan.
Okay.
Very excited about them this year, and hoping they're going to keep it going tomorrow. They're playing Michigan State at Michigan State. They keep showing the highlight last year of the Michigan State.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
Definitely.
Not good. If you're a Michigan State fan, I imagine that was a lot of fun to watch. For a Michigan fan, less fun. So they keep showing that highlight, and I'm hoping that we're going to have
You're just cringing your teeth the whole time.
Yes. Yes, I'm hoping after Saturday at 11, Saturday about 2:30, I'm hoping we're going to have some good Michigan highlights to show when they're showing highlights of the game next year.
Yeah, they just got off a huge win against Illinois, right?
Oh, big win. Yeah.
Killed
No,
them.
well, I mean, as you know, we are in the state of Illinois, and there's a lot more Illinois fans around here than Michigan fans, though they kind of are in hibernation right now. But yes, it's one of those where if Illinois wins, I have to hear about it from, 30 or 40 different people. If Michigan wins, everyone's kind of quiet. So the
Right.
silence is good.
Do you think that Lovie Smith will still have his job if the Illinois team doesn't do well in the next year?
The way it looks is I think they're going to give Lovey some time to get it straightened out.
Okay.
The way college contracts are for coaches are trending now is that it would probably cost a lot of money to get rid of Lovey. So I mean, and he's a pro coach. I mean, he's a
Right.
big name. So
Yeah.
I think they're going to give him some time to figure it out. And frankly, I would rather have a good Illinois football team than what's going on right now. They're in a different division than Michigan. We only play them probably once every 3 or 4 years. So
Right.
I'd rather see a good Illinois football team. People get excited around here. It's fun to watch the games, that kind of stuff.
So they kind of have to rebuild
Yes.
this year,
Yes.
in the next few years, and then hopefully someday maybe they'll be in the runnings for a good national championship title.
That would be that would be very surprising
I mean,
if Illinois
he
got
took
in
the
the
Bears
running.
to the Super Bowl.
That's a good point.
So
That's a good point. And that's just it. You never know what can happen with a good defense, right?
Right.
You get a good defense, you get a guy who's a quarterback who's not going to throw a lot of interceptions, get a good running game, and then all of a sudden, you never know, right?
Exactly. I'm a big LSU fan, so
Okay. Go Tigers, right?
Yep, go Tigers. They have a bye week this week, and then the following weekend they play Alabama
Yeah.
at home. So Alabama, obviously, they're a huge favorite. So it'll be interesting to watch that game.
Well, what do you think about them firing Coach
Les Miles.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, he had it coming because they didn't change the offense at all, and they definitely need someone different running the football team so that way they can kind of get rowdy and perform a little better.
Yeah, and Coach O, man, he's a real Cajun guy, huh?
Oh man, like his voice is so hoarse, and you just hear him speak, and you're like, wow, like that's exactly what Southern Louisiana is like.
It makes you want to run through a wall, doesn't it? I mean, it just really makes you want to get fired up and go out there. And then, the other thing that I was reading about, a meme, if you will, on Twitter, is that unfortunately LSU's mascot passed on recently. So I think they're dedicating the season to Mike the Tiger 5 or Mike the Tiger 6. But yeah, it's a sad story, but hey, whatever gets you motivated to get out there and beat Alabama, let's do it, right?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so back to more divorces and stuff. What is a prenup? How or why would a person consider that?
Prenup is a something you sign before the marriage, right? That the prenuptial agreement is the full word for it, or full phrase, I should say. And it's really what it's really meant to do is kind of delineate property that was that's yours before the marriage. So let's say we've got two. It's usually older individuals, or it's usually somebody going into a second marriage, maybe that's a little bit older than the person that they're marrying, and they have a significant amount of property, and the person they're marrying does not, or they each have their own separate property they want to keep separate. So, an example of that might be if two people around here had an expectation in some farmland or something that was maybe family owned.
Mm-hmm.
You'd want to make sure that that was designated in the prenup as that is this person's separate property. If during the marriage, things change and, there's a claim on it, we want to make sure that it's set out very clearly in this document that this is that person's separate property. We're going to keep this farmland in the family, so on and so forth. So what it really is an exchange of mutual promises, which I know is a fancy way of saying a contract, right? Mm-hmm. And then what we do is we attach a schedule to the back of the prenup, and the schedule, Schedule A will be husband's property that was earned before the marriage, and that way that property there's no question about it. And then the other schedule is wife's property before the marriage. And then, depending on what the purpose of the prenup is, you could, you could do a prenup where each party pays into like an account for household expenses every month, so that their own separate income remains their separate income. And then the other really big deal in there is usually there's a waiver of maintenance. So as I talked to you about earlier, maintenance is what we used to call alimony. Up until I think the beginning of 2015, maintenance was kind of this thing where people knew it when they saw it, but there wasn't a formula for it. So now there is a formula for it, and it's really just plugging in numbers. And we take husband's income, wife's income, and whoever's got the bigger income, we subtract a certain percentage, and then we figure out what the maintenance amount is per month. And then unless there's a reason to think unless there's a way to compensate the party who's entitled to maintenance in other ways. So what you could do hypothetically, instead of paying maintenance, is if there's a large marital estate, meaning there's a lot of money in the estate, you could give the other person more of the fixed assets rather than give them monthly a monthly payment. And so anyway, the prenup usually waives maintenance on both sides, and that's really the purpose of a prenup. Again, if you're thinking about getting married, if you're fortunate enough to have a significant estate before you get married, I think it's probably always smart to at least talk to somebody about that, whether it's something you decide to do. Now, of course, it's kind of like when you make a will, right? Nobody ever wants to confront death.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with the prenup, the whole purpose of a prenup is if you get divorced. Well, generally when you're getting married, you don't
want to get divorced.
Generally, right? Hopefully. And so people, it's kind of uncomfortable, and it's not something, and human nature is to wait to the last minute. So I can't tell you the number of times we've had people sign prenups like the week before the wedding, right?
Wow.
Because, that's the motivation. So there's a lot going on. There's the wedding, there's the family, there's all these other arrangements. And then it's kind of like, do I really need a prenup? But that's the whole point, is you should be thinking about whether you want a prenup before you actually, get into the real deep into the wedding process.
So someone like Scottie Pippen would probably need a prenup. Just because of, obviously his 6 rings and stuff like that. He should have thought about that. Hopefully he has one, but if not, think about all of his stuff that he can lose.
Well, exactly. Now, but see, what Doug has written down for us is the Angelina Brad divorce, right?
Okay.
So let's say, a couple years go by and Scotty meets Angelina and realizes Angelina is the woman of his dreams, right? Well,
of course.
In that case, they probably both want a prenup, because then they both, sure their assets are protected. And Angelina may be worth more than Scotty, right? Who knows?
I'd say so.
I think so too, right?
Maybe it's just our opinions.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, our opinions are the only thing that matter. We're the only ones on the air right now.
Exactly.
And this isn't a call-in show, so we say Angelina's more
important.
I saw
Doug texted you a few times. What's he got to say this morning?
Doug is texting me his NFL picks.
Okay.
So I'm going to read them very slowly to give myself some time to look up the games, so I can know which ones I want to pick. So Doug picked Arizona -3, and they play at Carolina. Well, I'm going to have to pick the other side of that, because that's a terrible pick. Doug, I hope you're listening. That is a terrible pick. And then Oakland in a pick'em, and then they play at Tampa Bay. Wow, that's another one, man. You love the West Coast teams this week, huh? And then the lock of the week, Atlanta -3. Now that pick I do like. That's a good one, which means that'll be the one that fails, and the other two will cover. So
the Dirty Birds.
The Dirty Birds, exactly. So I'm going to take Carolina. Oh, Doug, it's Arizona +3. All right, I guess Penner's listening to this, so
he didn't have his whole pot of coffee this morning.
Oh, the big carrier.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm assuming that Doug wants Arizona +3. I'm still okay with taking the other side. I'm going to take Carolina -3. Carolina -3. Doug is Arizona +3. And then I also like Houston. Well, let me actually look through this slate and make sure I know what I'm talking about first. All right, I'm going to take Indianapolis +2.5 at home against the Chiefs. And then, oh man, it's a tough week. I think the biggest spread's like 4 points. And then
every game's so close. You mean?
Yeah. Then let's do what's that -1? And then I'm gonna do. You know what? Let's have some fun. I'm gonna take the other side of Doug's pick. I'm gonna take Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay pick'em. So I got Carolina -3, Indy +2.5, Tampa Bay pick'em, and I'm gonna go ahead and circle and mark it down. Indy +2.5, lock of the week. Lock it up, Penner. All right, so we got Arizona +3, Atlanta -3, Oakland pick'em. And then I've got Carolina -3, Indy +2.5, Tampa Bay pick'em. Doug's lock of the week, Atlanta -3. My lock of the week, Indy +2.5. Now, Doug asked a very interesting question, and that question is, what was that, Doug? Who's taller between the two of you? Well, as you might imagine, that has a large bearing on being a successful attorney and a successful physical trainer. So, we'll go back to back after the show, and maybe we'll post a comment to the YouTube page and let you know, Doug. But thank you for asking. If anybody else has any questions they'd like answered on air, we'd be happy to tackle those. So, what else should we talk about, Shelby?
Oh man, so the prenup, it's got to be like a touchy subject. Like if, let's say you're getting married again, when you do that, is it kind of like something that maybe you think that your partner will be angry at you? Like, oh, what the heck, Jeff? You want to get married to me now? You want to get a prenup? Like, what's that all about?
Well, I can tell you from my marriage, the other party was considering a prenup, and I wasn't offended by it, but
Okay.
I'm not sure everybody would feel that way. I think the best way, with everything in a relationship, right? You communicate about things openly and honestly.
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on why you're doing it. If you're doing it to keep like the farmland in the family, like the example I gave you, I think that's, to me, that's not really objectionable. That's more of a, the family wants me to do it, so on. If you're doing it because you're you make significantly more money than the other party, that's probably something you just want to discuss with them. But the issue with that is, generally speaking, generally speaking, if it's an older, younger marriage, the male is older with more resources. Not always. There certainly are other examples, right?
Yeah.
But let's say that, it's a 35-25, man's 35, woman's 25, and they're going to have children. If you talk about a waiving maintenance there, then basically what you're saying is, if the woman's going to stay home, you gave up, prime earning years during your career to stay home with the kids, and now I'm going to waive maintenance. So certainly, and obviously, anytime there's a prenup, you want both parties to be represented.
Yeah.
So if anytime there's
So
a
they
prenup,
need to call you,
yes.
Jeff Bach at Bach Law. What's your phone number?
309-673-0100. Email is jbachesq@gmail.com. jbachesq@gmail.com.
Perfect. Now, what are you doing this weekend?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, my wife's actually going to the Cubs game tonight, so I'm going to
Really?
be babysitting. Well, she shares season tickets with a bunch of people from her firm, and her name got drawn to go. So she's going to go, take her brother. They're big Cubs fans. I'm a
Nice.
Cardinal fan, so
Yeah.
it's going to be way bigger deal for them to go than it would be for me. So I'm going to hang out with my son tonight. And then tomorrow I'm going to watch the Michigan State game.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, I'm probably just going to watch my picks smash Doug's picks.
Of course.
Because, that's what happened last time. Doug's a little shy about admitting it, but we did the first pick'em on the last show I was on, and I beat Doug. And, it's really nothing to celebrate
This is like
about.
a rematch for Doug.
Everything's a rematch for Doug, and probably on the losing end of most of those. So, Doug, one of these days you'll get some NFL picks right. You'll win. You'll get to gloat about it. It feels pretty good. It feels pretty good to win. Feels pretty good to beat you. But kind of like taking candy from a baby. Am I right? Exactly.
Exactly. All right, Jeff. Well, thank you for coming on the show this morning. I appreciate all your time and everything. You're absolutely hilarious in the meetings that I go to on Wednesdays. It's always a pleasure to see you and speak with you. So thanks for your time today, man.
Absolutely, Shelby. We've still got a couple seconds left. What are you going to do this weekend?
Let's see. I have a birthday party to go to Saturday.
Okay. Whose
Since
birthday?
My stepmom's.
Okay.
And I'm going to go over there, do that, probably watch some college football. And I think, who plays this weekend? There's a Florida State game on.
Yeah, Florida State Clemson tomorrow night.
Top 25
Yeah.
Ranked team. So I'll probably be busy glued to the TV watching that, maybe grill out a little bit if the weather's warm. And
absolutely.
Have a good time, man.
Last barbecue of the year, right? 80 degrees. We got to get it done.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This is Daily Energy. My name is Shelby Leboeuf. Peace out.